Welcome back, everyone. Well, we've reached that moment where I'm going to start setting up the station molds. So this is the part where you're really going to start to see a boat taking shape. I'll show you my setup here that I have. As you may notice, I took the lofting panels off my strong back, so now I'll be able to use this for setting up my station molds on. You can see that each station mold, it's numbered. You can see number 8, got number 7 here, and so on. They're all measured out and squared up. Each one of these station molds is going to be 2 feet apart. That's what the plan calls for. And right now I did a little bit of work before I started filming. I have a laser line level over here. Right in here, we'll get a shot of that. And that gives me a horizontal and vertical line. You can see it down there. Maybe I'll shut the lights off, you'll get a better view. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see the crosshairs, the horizontal and the vertical line. That goes all the way around the room. I've already done a little bit of work here just to try and test a few things out. I'll be setting these station molds up alone, so it gets a little bit difficult doing it. I've always done it that way, but I came up with a little bit of a jig here. I'll show you something here. I don't know if you remember when I was making my forms, I did what's called a setup level line on each one of my molds, station molds. This one is the highest one up from the bottom of it. Okay, that's almost 10 inches. If I go to station 8, which is my last one before the transom, if I measure from the bottom of my mold up to my setup level line, I have just slightly over 2.5 inches. So there's a difference of about 7.5 inches of height. What I have to do is station 8, it's the bottom of the mold right here is going to be up off the strong back a little bit higher than the station number 1. Station number 1 will probably only be about 1/2 inch off of the strong back. So I built a little jig here that will hold each station for me in place, and I put a little mark here where you can see the laser line. If I don't block it out, it's close enough to the center line there. Everything else is marked. I put a pencil mark on the center line in case the batteries die on the laser. I'll be able to come back and reset it up. But what I did is this right here is where I'm going to rest my bottom of my station mold on, and I put these reference marks right here. You can see a little pencil mark I put there. That represents the 2.5 inches up. So when I put it down, I'm going to rest it on here, and it should get me pretty close to where I have to be with my station mold. And I have to screw in some boards on here. Once I get it lined up, I'll probably have to tweak it a little bit up and down, obviously get it on the center line, and I'll be putting screws in. I'll screw it into my crossbars here on the strong back. So anyways, let's get to doing that. I'll put this back on the tripod, and I'll try to get it up as close as possible so you can see what I'm doing. So I cut a couple of boards. I'm going to attach them onto my station mold. I have it marked out. exactly where I want to put them, so that I should clear this jig right here. And I'll pre-drill them, screw them into the station mold, and then I'll attach it to the crossboard on my strong back. Once this is up, I'll drill it from the opposite side and put a screw coming in from the on the opposite side. I'll put 2 screws on this side, 1 from the other. Try and line it up right in the middle. Now I'm just going to lift this station up into place, and we'll see how it lines up with the crosshairs, with the level. I don't know how good you'll be able to see it on the camera. Okay, that's this. Okay, I got it lined up on center. That's the center line. That's looking pretty good. I just have to come up a little bit on this side to get it level. I'm going to go on the other side and check it. Keep checking all your lines too, to make sure you don't go off on your center line. And this one has to go up also. Right there. Awesome. So now, I'm going to screw these boards. I'll drill it first. I got a clamp so I can drill all the holes at once, probably. After I get it screwed in place, I'll take the camera down. I'll give you a close up of what it looks like. Probably go a little quicker if I had an extra drill. I do have one somewhere. It's a cheapie, but it would be good for doing that. Okay, I can probably unclamp this now. Probably noticing the station molds, they're going to be a little wobbly. I'm going to go and pick up some other boards and I'll cut them down and I'll screw them in between to brace them a little bit. Plus when the keel's dropped in, that'll hold it also. Put the screws in the back that I said I do. Two screws might even be enough, but I'm just trying to make sure. So I'll take the camera down and I'll give you a close-up of what it looks like with the crosshairs in reference to my lines that I drew when I was cutting out the station molds. Trying not to block out the laser line, but I come back here, you can see where my pencil line is, right in here. It's lined up with the laser line there. See it on my center line. It's lined up, so this little jig here works out pretty good. I'll go over the other side just to show you that it's level with this side also. It's right on the line. Now let's do station number 7. Number 7's off to the side here. First thing I'm going to do, I'll go over and I'm going to measure the distance from the bottom of the station mold up to my setup level line. Okay, it's about 2 1/8 inches. Now, take my ruler. Since the bottom of station 7, in all my stations, this is my jig, this is where it's going to be sitting on, the bottom of it here. So I said it's 2 1/8 inches up to the setup level line. So what I'm going to do, I take the ruler, place it up against the board where it's going to be sitting, and I measure 2 1/8. I put a line. I just marked it to it, a number 7, just so I don't get confused. Okay, I'm up against the board where the station's going to be resting on. 2 1/8 inches. That's to station 7 from the bottom of the mold where I cut it up to the setup level. Now this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. I'd rather it slightly lower maybe, so that I can bump it up a little bit while I'm setting the station in place. Now we'll just take that jig, a fixture, whatever you want to call it. Now we'll put in station number 7. Put over, line up my center line. That's good. Good. I have to lift it up a little bit. Just a tiny little bit, right there. Perfect. To the other side. Same thing on this side, just to lift it up a little tiny bit. Recheck the center. It's slightly off a bit, so I'm going to do it over. I have to come this way about 1/16 of an inch. I'll loosen these up. That's it. We'll do this again. Just lift it up a tiny little bit, get it on the mark. That's that one. Okay. It's still off a little bit. Okay, we'll do it again. Okay, that time I went past it just a teeny little bit, in case it's something with the adjustments here that's pulling it back the other way. Okay, once again, third time, lift it up and put it right on the line. Same thing over here. It's going to go up just a little bit. Get up there. Okay. Way better. All right. I know it probably looks like I'm splitting hairs doing this, but if I let a little bit of error get in here, then a little bit of error down doing something else creep into the plan, then all those little errors add up and they accumulate to a larger error, and in the end what you'll be doing is using a lot of fairing compound or something to get the boat back to being fair again. So a few minutes right now goes a long way in the end. I guess all I'm doing is trying to tell you, just do it the right way. Take your time and get it right. It's a big time saver in the end. Rest we'll probably fast forward through just to save time, and it's just repetitious all the way down. Every station's the same exact thing, except for the height of it's going to be a little different. So yesterday I set up station forms 8 through 1, and I came out this morning and I did a few things. I wanted to brace the station forms just so they wouldn't move back and forth, and I'll show you how I started to set that up. This is station 8 right here. What I do is I put a level on the forward face of the station, and I move it around until I get it plumb, and I had this 45-degree angle already cut. I had it attached to the station already. I screwed through the backside right there into the 2x3, and when I had the level showing that it was plumb, I just came down and I put a screw into it, into my strong back, and I went on the other side of it, did the same thing. Then what I do is I come up to, this would be station 7, I put the level in here again up against the station 7, and I have a block cut down and it's screwed into the back of station 8, and then I screw through the front of station 7 into that block, and that braces, that diagonal keeps everything from moving. And then as you work your way forward, these blocks hold everything in place. And one thing that I had to do, I lowered the keel down a little ways so that I could kind of see where things were going to line up, and I noticed my strong back was coming much too far forward, so I had to cut it back because I tried to hold the front bow transom on, and it was banging on the tops of the strong backs here before it was actually coming down flush with the top edge here of the keel. You can see the sawdust on the floor. That's how much I cut the strong back, almost 2 feet back, just so, because this comes down on an angle, and what I'll do is when it comes time to put that on, I'll probably, I'm going to end up screwing it into the front face of the keel, and I'll just put braces on it to hold it steady. The reason, if you're wondering why I don't put the transom on now and the front bow section, is because each one of those is going to require a bevel cut in it to match up with the angle of the keel coming down and the planking, so the planking will land on it properly. The transom won't require that so much as the front one here, because of that. That's a pretty sharp angle that it comes down on, and the front edge of the bow section is going to have a bevel cut in it so it matches this angle here coming down, or else it'll be sitting up too high on the planking. So I'll show you how I do these stations here with bracing it, and I'm only going to show you one because they're all the same. It's all repetitive. Okay, so the first thing I do is I take the level, I'm going to rest it right here on top of the board that I'm using to hold the station mold in place. Then I'm going to clamp it right here in place. I watch my bubble up the top here. If I have to move this back or forward a little. Well, this one right now, I'm getting pretty lucky. It's perfectly plumb right now. So I'll cut a board. Most of these are 23 1/4 because these are 24 inches on center. So I have to deduct 3/4 of an inch for the thickness of the plywood. So this should be right there, 23 1/4. I'll cut that board. Okay, I got the board screwed in on that one. This might be getting a little bit anal, but everything else is plumb and level, so I may as well make these two. But then I just eyeball it so that this is straight or parallel with the rails of the strong back. And that's it. That one's in there. That's all there is to it. So I finished bracing all the stations now from 8 through 1. And I'll give you a quick look at it. That's station 1 right there. As I got closer to the bow, I had to move these in a little bit because it gets narrower and down a little to leave me a little bit of room to work, because when I put the planking on, I'll be putting the thick epoxy along these edges here, and I want to be able to get up underneath the boat and leave myself some room to clean the excess off. But I sanded down the glue joints on the keel. You see one was right there, and that one definitely had to be, the squeeze out would have held the keel from going in at station 4. But I dropped the keel in, it's in place. I'm very happy with the way that it came out. I remember I left the keel with a little bit of excess on it so that I could sand it down. You can see it meets up really good there. I'm going to have to sand it a little bit in a few spots here. This one, it bumps it just a little bit. So I'll just get the planer and I'll hit it along that edge right there. But I'll do a walk around to show you the whole thing. I didn't put the transom on yet. That'll be coming up next. After this, I'm just going to call it quits for the night, and I'll come out tomorrow and I'll put on the transom and probably the bow section. But it's going to take a little work doing the bevels. But that's it. Starting to look like a boat to me. You tell me what you think. So I finished bracing all the station molds, and I dropped the keel down into place, and I'm very happy with the way it came out. And I'm going to do a quick walk around here just to give you a look at how things came out. You can see right here, this is between station 2 and station 1. The forms, they get a little bit lower, a little narrower, so I got to move the blocking in a little bit further. And one thing I don't like to do is, if you can see right here, this is the backside of station 1. I like to leave some room up here. I don't like to go right up to the edge or out to this edge, because when I'm planking the boat, I'll be applying the thickened epoxy along these edges on the station, and the glue is going to squeeze out, and I like to leave myself some room to get in underneath here. And I'll come up and I'll go in with a scraper and I'll scrape the squeeze out off of here, and just so it doesn't set up and want it to come out nice and neat. But you can see the keel right there fell into place very good. I'm very happy with it. It's actually starting to take shape. You know, maybe starting to even look like a boat, if you can picture the shapes of this. If you're not familiar with boat building, this is actually upside down. That's the way I think most of us build these types of boats. And it's a lot easier that way. When we go to do the planking, we have the gravity working in our favor. It's easier to put the planking up here and attach it as opposed to trying to work the opposite way around, lifting it up in the air. But I'll take a walk around and show you everything. You'll be able to see I have the braces in between everything. I'll grab my level here. I'll show you how I'm going to have to trim this down a little bit. You'll see a little tiny gap right in here, but that's good, because what I can do is just get the planer out. If you hear the clicking sound as I pull this back, it drops down. I'll just have to put a little tiny bevel right along the edge of the keel right here. And I think I may have done that intentionally just so I'm not too short on the keel, on the height of it. A little longer, I can just plane a tiny little angle on that, and the planking will sit on there really well. And you can see, I'll put the camera back in here again. Right here, the weep holes I put in ahead of time. That's for if you get water in the bilge, it'll drain towards the back, and it can either pump out, or if you take the boat out for the season, you'll pull out a drain plug at the back of the transom, and it will just drain the water out as you'll tilt it back on the trailer, and the water will come out. And I don't have the transom on. I don't have the forward bow section on either, because as I mentioned previously, they're going to need to be beveled to take a little bit off. The transom is going to need a little bit of a bevel. I'll have to remove a little bit because of you can see the angle of the keel. And I'll probably attach those tomorrow sometime. First, what I have to do, I'm going to lift the keel back out of the molds here, and I need to sand it a little bit and apply a coat of epoxy on it. And I also have to coat inside this notch and right here, the weep holes and all that stuff, really good with epoxy, because this is the end grain, it'll suck it in. So I want to put a few coats on there just to make sure that it's protected from any kind of moisture or water, and it'll give me a good bond when I thicken up the epoxy and put it in. It won't be a dry joint. So that's it. Starting to look like a boat. So I finished coating the keel a little while ago, and I dropped it down into place after it's set up for a bit, and I did a couple of the fillets to glue it in place. And I'm going to spin the camera back around. I'll show you how, I'll show you one or two of them. I don't have to show you all of them because they're all exactly the same, but I'll show you one or two of them, how I do it. And that will probably be close to the end of this episode. But anyways, let's get on with doing some fillets. Okay, so I'm going to start putting in my thickened epoxy right in here and under here, and on the other side I'll do the same thing, and over on this side also. And these are called fillets. Fillets, and that's spelled F-I-L-E-T. It's not a fillet, it's a fillet. And it's actually pretty much like a structural glue holding going to hold the keel in place here. And it's probably equivalent to a weld in steel when you're trying to weld two steel plates together. And if there's any welders out there, they're more than welcome to go in the comments if they want to argue with me about that. But that's about the best comparison that I can make. Is that basically we're gluing the wood together as opposed to welding steel. And right now I'm just putting blobs of it in here. I'm going to use a yellow spreader to really push it into that joint to make sure I get a good amount in the joint there. I left a little tiny gap between the keel and the station mold, very small, and I'm going to push the adhesive into it. And you'll see me do that in just a second. I'm going back and forth here. It's almost all going to just come back out onto my squeegee here. I just get that like that and I push it right in there. I do the same in the front here. Go around this side, do the same thing. Just keep pushing it in there. Right back. Basically it's almost wiping it all out of there, but it is squeezing it into the joint. Over here on this side. And now that it appears that I just wiped most of it off of it, I'm going to put it back in. On this side. Dropped a little on the floor. There's plenty of it on the floor from over the years, but if I can, I'm going to pick it up because it does stick pretty good to the floor. I'll just throw it out. Stuff sticks to the floor pretty good too, but you can wipe it up because it does kind of mess things up if you're trying to roll something around. Now, here's how I'm going to finish my fillet. I like to hold this is a tongue depressor. It's 3/4 of an inch wide, radiused on the end. I'm going to hold it flat right up against the bulkhead. I'm going to wipe it down. I put a slight little angle on it. I come down. Then I switch around, I hold it on the keel right up against it and I wipe it down. What happens is it'll leave me a nice clean radius in there, and the sides of the stick will keep like this stuff right here from sticking to the station mold. So I'll start up here, I'm holding it flat, put a little angle, and then just come down just like this. Same thing in the other direction. I get the back side here. down, you can see it's on the stick. Up against the keel. With the other side of the boat, same thing again. One more. Now I'm going to use the yellow spreader. I'll come down the bottom, go right flat against the keel, and go in and drag the extra off. Same thing on the back side. Then go down in here where the weep hole is. You can see right here where it's squeezed up and into there. And I'll just follow the radius down, push it in against the keel, swipe it up to clean it up. And before I do any planking on this, I'm going to go back in and make sure that this has another coat of epoxy on it. Because the end grain, it really sucks it in, and that's a very vulnerable spot for water to get in and cause some rot. So I always make sure that those are good and coated. And just go around. If you see any extra epoxy somewhere where you don't want it, just use the scraper and take it off. And that's all that's to it. And if you do it that way with this stick, it comes out nice and neat. And I think I'll just show you one more. Try and turn the camera a little. I got it zoomed in. I'll do the next one down. That's going to be station 4. I'm going to show you all of them, because it'll probably bore you to death. You get it on the stick, kind of wipe a bunch of it in there, push it in a little. Down the bottom. Go on this side too. Okay, on the other side. Right in there. The back side. Back. Oh, let's start with this side. Yeah. Put the stick up against the station mold. Slight angle. Swipe it down. Clean the extra off. Put the tongue depressor right up against the keel now. Same thing, little angle. Swipe it down. Hit that one again with just a little bit, there we go. Just trying to neaten it up. Nice. I'll come back around on this side. get a tongue depressor flat up against the keel, a little angle down, drag it down, clean the stick off, up against the station mold, little angle down, swipe down, boom, it's in there. Just clean the extra off on the top side of the keel. Clean out the weep hole section. On the other side, clean out this weep hole. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to finish up the rest without videotaping it because they're all done the same. And when I'm finished, we'll do a walk around. I'll show you what it looks like. So today my goal is to get the forward bow section on and the transom on. I've already been working on the forward bow section. I'll show you what I did. That's the forward bow section. I have just a couple screws holding it in place. Now what I did is I have the point right here of the bow section is lined up right here with the keel. And if you look from the side, you've been hearing me talking about I need to cut a bevel. You can see right here with this, because this is cut square. Obviously when the planking comes on, it can't hit this bump and go up and over. It'll look pretty crappy. So I'll show you how I came up with the angle here that I'm going to need to cut that on. This is a very small little pull saw that I have. And what I did is I started cutting it, cutting a line right down here. It's already cut, but I'm going to show you how I did it. And you try to stay on the same angle as what the keel is coming in. Now I'm going to flip this over because there's a screw real close right here to where the saw is. But I'll put this side back in. Now you can see that the saw is flush with the keel. And then you come up the front here, and where the saw cut ended, that's where your bevel needs to come down to. Now on the sides, I already drew my lines in here where I need to cut the bevel. You can see that line coming down. On the sides I have a piece of PVC here, flexible piece of PVC. And I just brought it down. I held it on the stations back here. I had a couple of clamps on it. I wasn't holding it by hand. And I came down, and that gap right there, I measured what that height was from the PVC down to here on the corner. And what I did is I just transferred that measurement onto the front side here. Made a mark, and I drew the lines, connected it here from the keel down to the chine. And then I did the same thing for the side planking. And that's the line right here for that. And then the other side is done the same way. And then the last thing that I have to do is right here in the front. You'll see obviously that, I'll try and find the right angle here. That's pretty good. If you look right here, I'm going to have to put an angle on the keel for the planking to sit on for this angle when the planking goes on. And what's going to happen is I put the two little saw cuts right here. So when I take this bow section off, I'll be able to get my planer out. And what I have to do this angle is going to change and it'll taper and actually go away as I get right up to here. So the way I'm going to get that, I'll take my small flexible batten, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tuck it right in here to where that corner, it's just barely hitting. You can actually see the, well, maybe you can't, but I can. The little tiny saw cut right here that I put in it, that lines up right here with this. So try and put that in there. And what I'm going to do, I haven't done this yet, but I'll try to explain as best I can. I'm going to clamp this up here so that that's flush up there, and you'll see that that gradually tapers further down until it gets to the front where it meets. That's going to be the angle that I need to cut. I'm going to use the planer, and I'll plane it in. What I typically like to do, I don't have to take any more off of here. I don't have to take any more off here. So what I'll do is I'll just take a Sharpie, run it right down along the edge here, black Sharpie, and I'll know as long as I see that black line going along these edges, then right down the middle here, that I didn't take, I don't have to remove any material there. So as long as I see the black Sharpie mark there, that means that that I didn't remove any material there. It all has to just come off the front edge here until it meets up with that. So I just have to get this line in here. I'll remove the bow section here, and I'll get those bevels in, then I'm going to glue it in place, and I'll once I get to that point, I'll come back again and show it to you again. So I've been at it for a while, cutting the bevels in the bow section and on the transom. I have them screwed in place and some braces on them. I'll go around, I'll show you how they came out, and then I will coat them with epoxy. And so I put this little flexible, hold on a second, excuse me. I have this little flexible PVC pattern. I put a finished nail in one of the station molds so I could just have it held in one place and get up close here just to show you the bevels. Now you remember the line that I put on them right here, going along here, and I said I was going to put a black Sharpie mark. You can see that right along the edge here. That's so I wouldn't cut into this side too much. I knew all I had to do was go from that line that was out here up to my black line, and that would give me my bevel. But it came out really good. As you can see right here, I'll try to zoom in here if I can for you. And you follow it down. It came out really good. What I did was I roughed it out with my circular saw, then I hit it with my planer, and then I dressed it up with my random orbit sander. And you can see right here I have my bevels in there now. Let's see if I can get you an angle there. That's the bevels. Now the planking will sit nice and flat all along these edges. That's the bracing that I came up with to hold it in place. It's just one screw up here in the middle into the keel. It's not all the way in because I have to take it off to pre-coat it with epoxy, and then I'll thicken up some epoxy and put it on. And I'll come back here now, I'll show you the transom. You can see the transom now, I did the same thing. You can see the black line along the edge here. Again, that's just so I know with the power planer that if I see that disappearing, then I know I'm cutting away material that I'm supposed to keep. And this didn't require anywhere near the amount of bevel as the front bow section. And I did the same along the side of the transom. And again, this is just one screw in the middle. I put a few blocks in right down here to support it. And I have it screwed down into the block so it can't move. And what I'm going to do is I'll take these off. And I'm going to coat everything with epoxy, including the top of the keel here. Well, the bottom, but it's the top because it's upside down. And then I'm going to put another coat of epoxy into the weep hole areas. And I'll go along and I'm going to apply a little bit of epoxy along the edges of the station molds right here. And I'll be getting this ready for the planking. But anyways, this will wrap up, I think it's episode 5 of setting up the station molds. And check back in a few weeks. I'll be putting the planking on. And I'll be trying something. It'll be a new method for me, what I'm going to try. Hopefully it works. If not, I could be wasting some expensive plywood. But we'll give it a go. I might try it with like a piece of scrap. I'll make something up to test it out first, to get the actual shape of the plywood before I even toss it up on there. I'm just trying to reduce putting the all that scuffed plywood up on the top, taking it off, cutting it, putting it back up, and so we'll see how it goes. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to it if you did. Hit the like button. Make some comments. Send me an email. I love getting all these comments and emails. And spread the word to people that might enjoy this. So I'll see you at episode 6. Bye bye now.